You already have a purpose. You just don't know it yet. You already have a vision. You just don't know it yet. It's the same shit, really. If you have a purpose, or rather, if you have a vision, you have a purpose. If you have a purpose, that's the whole point, right? Why do you have a purpose and you don't know it yet? Because, let me try to figure out how to articulate this. Basically, okay, at some point, I mean, some people might already know their purpose or whatever, and they're like, oh, when I grow up, I want to be, and then they become that thing, and then there you go, and that's, pretty simple and good for them, I guess, and that's great. But if you're like, I don't know, everyone else who doesn't just fucking know when they're fresh out the womb, and they don't just, figure it out from the start, and everything isn't just, butterflies and rainbows and sunshine every fucking day. Not to say that I'm exaggerating, okay? Obviously, not everyone that knows their purpose right away means that they have it doesn't mean they have a beautiful, perfect life. But anyway, I digress, okay? If you're not a part of the group of people who know from the start, then you're on a journey of finding your purpose on some level. And it's a very fine line between, how can I explain this? It's like, I have no purpose over here, right? And I am trying to figure out what it is. And until I figure it out, I'm a useless sack of shit floating through the universe without direction, without purpose, and just, hopefully I figure it out someday. Right? So there's that extreme. And then on the other end of the spectrum of finding your purpose is I don't know what my purpose is, but I'm gonna figure it out. And until then, first of all, okay, let me just finish my thought. Until then, I'm just gonna, I'm gonna do my best. I'm gonna take it one day at a time. I'm going to try different things. I'm going to have experiences, and I'm going to do things so that I can find my purpose, and then I can serve the world to the best of my ability with, my newfound knowledge or whatever, okay? And what I was going to say before I rudely interrupted myself was that my mind is all over the fucking place right now. On this side, right? When you're, first of all, it depends what your definition of purpose is, okay? And I'm not going to get into definition necessarily, just hopefully we have a somewhat similar-ish general concept of what purpose is. But I'm leaning more towards the side of let's just say spiritual, maybe religious, or bigger, grander scale, bigger picture purpose of what the meaning of you and your life is in this world. And so essentially, I'm losing my train of thought, but I'm getting somewhere where there is a purpose to this train of thought right now. Okay, let me just back up a little bit for this to make sense based on my experience. The majority of my life, okay, I felt I had no purpose. And I felt I was on this end of the spectrum. I can't remember where I had my hands when I was describing, but I think it was this side where it's I'm a useless sack of shit until I figure out my purpose. That was basically my mindset, let's just say, for the most part. And so I thought, until then, until I find my purpose, I'm just going to exist. And I used to, party on the weekends and drink and numb myself and smoke cigarettes and whatever else was available, I guess. And went to a job I hated, and I would consistently be inconsistent in my showing up to those jobs, or I would never hold the job. The longest job I've ever had in my life was 2 years, which is I think about 2 years, which is really long compared to like all the other jobs. I've always had like 1 to 3 months, maybe, let's say, on average. Maybe on average 1 month long. Okay, so I was just like, incapable of just sitting in the same place, because that meant that I was settling, and I was terrified of settling with whatever I had, because I didn't want to end up 50 years old and I'm still working at this shit job that I don't like, and I still haven't found my purpose yet. And so I would jump from thing to thing, and it reflected everywhere throughout my life. It wasn't just my job. It was, in some ways, I was going to say relationships, but I mean, I guess, I don't know, it doesn't matter, okay? I digress. Again. So, then came a point, I don't know how long ago, maybe, whatever. At some point, I realized, okay, I actually had a purpose, and I kind of knew what it was. And I kind of knew what it was because it was the closest, most clear thing that I had current access to in my mind of what I would desire to, what I wanted to do, and what it would kind of look like, and definitely what it would feel like. I have no idea what it would look like. I have a little idea, but I don't, it's not very clear to me, but I have a pretty good feeling of like what it would feel like. It was, and that, a feeling of fulfillment, a feeling of like belonging and knowing and being confident in who I am and where I am and what I've created for myself and where I'm headed, and this kind of like, standing in my own power, in my experience, in my knowledge and wisdom, and my, having some kind of meaning to it all that I've developed and created and found in myself, for myself, and serving the world, serving myself and serving the world and the people around me. And that is basically, that's my purpose, right? That's what I kind of figured out. And I figured out that actually it kind of looks like, on some level, creating films, making movies. I don't know exactly how, where, when, or what it would look like when I get there, but I know that it would feel this certain way, more or less, and it would kind of maybe have something to do with creating films on some level, okay? And I realized that that's all I needed. And maybe I kind of had an idea and knew that my whole life, to an extent, not really, but I picked up pieces here and there and realized like, oh, okay, this is it. This is what I want. But the shift was, I don't need to know exactly what I want, exactly what it looks like, to take action and to feel confident in where I'm headed and what the fuck I'm doing with my goddamn life. And I don't have to choose this very specific thing. Oh, I want to become I would never want to do this, okay, but I want to be a director at Disney, okay? Like, fuck that. But let's say that was my purpose. I determined that was what I desired. It's very great that you can label something like that and, take action towards that. It's very clear. It's very almost tangible. You can label it. You can, what would it take to become exactly this thing that already exists, but I could take the stand, take the place, take that role. So, but it's not that simple for everyone, right? So I feel like I'm all over the place, but the shift happened when I realized I didn't need to know exactly what the label was. I didn't need to know exactly what it looked like. I didn't need to know that I wanted to be a director at Disney, okay? Or Universal Studios or whatever the fuck. Because, I don't want to be that by any means, but I don't need to know. I can have a general idea and a pretty good feeling of what it is, and I can start walking towards it. And something that comes up a lot when I think about this sort of thing without, I don't know, I don't know if it's a story or whatever in the Bible or something like that, but basically, taking a leap of faith and stepping in front, taking the first step in darkness or whatever, and the one step at a time, and the path reveals itself as you step forward. But it will not reveal itself until you take that first step and then that next step, and it keeps progressively revealing itself. There's no point in your life, not to speak in ultimates, or in absolutes rather, there's no point where it'll just, all the lights turn on and you can see everything and you know exactly where you're going and everything that's in the way and all the obstacles and how long it's going to take and how much distance there is and all this shit. So long as you're in this physical manifestation of whatever the hell this experience is, I don't think there's a time where that will happen. So there's a very clear, necessary requirement to this experience, to have faith and to take action, irrespective of your certainty and your knowing of exactly what the hell is going to happen. Because needing to know and all that, it's, first of all, it causes paralysis, like decision paralysis, and it's just like a recipe for over analyzing, and just, it doesn't do anything for you. There's a time and a place, but it's almost never, I think, for the most part. Coming from an overthinker, coming from someone who profoundly ponders and thinks way too often and way too frequently and way too excessively, and I've gotten a lot better at not doing that, by the way, but coming from that perspective, I know it is deeply important to have some kind of faith and take action in alignment with what you're presently able to come up with for what your vision is. And it might just be, you might have no idea, you might not even know at all what thing, like you don't even know you want to work with your hand. Okay, maybe I like working with my hands, or maybe I know I like writing, or I like driving, or whatever. You know, like a little bit of something, just a tiny bit, like an action, or a very, very general idea of like, I like this sort of thing. I like being outside, for example. I don't like being inside, I like being outside. So I know that, at least. And, I mean, you don't even need that. You just need this one thing, which is a very general, vague feeling of what you want. A feeling of like, okay, I want to feel on some level fulfilled and wholesome and whole. And you just roll with that. That's the direction I'm walking in. I want to feel fulfilled and whole. And don't limit yourself. If you have literally no idea what that looks like, then you can't limit yourself to these concepts that you've been handed down. Otherwise, the answer and the physical form of what would answer that feeling would be associated with that feeling of wholeness and fulfillment would almost guaranteed is not going to be in line with your idea, which you've been handed down, of what success is. And you would assume that it's over here and it's this thing, or it's like in this realm of possibility. Meanwhile, it's like all the way over here, out of the fucking frame, and you're not even looking over there. You have no idea. And it's okay, you don't need to know, but don't latch on to this thing when you don't even know what you want. Like, forget all of this. Let go of everything. Let go of everything. And be open to whatever. But walk towards that emotion. Walk towards that feeling. That was a little bit of a tangent. Again, I'm going to get better at talking. I feel like for the first 10 minutes, I just like vomit everywhere. And then I slowly start to get my thoughts in order. And again, like I said in another video, I'm going to get better at this as I go. But hey, boys, I got 4 subscribers overnight, so making it a grand total of 5 subscribers. And basically we already made it. We made it. We're here. We're good. So there's nothing else to do. I already made it. I'm just gonna keep making videos, and so that's cool. Thanks for subscribing. And I don't know. I guess that's it. Okay, thank you. Peace.